Assalamu alaikum, you're watching Pivot, and I'm your host, Dr. Talat. In today's program, we are discussing security imperatives of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. As we know that it's very important to have peace and stability in our country, in Pakistan, to have, have things stable for CPEC to succeed. When CPEC started in 2014, the situation in our country was not so peaceful. So there were a couple of terrorist attacks and incidences that created a kind of instability environment in our country. So from 2014 till today, there is a decrease in number of instances that created instability in Pakistan. So that's a good sign that we can have peace and stability for our mega project like CPEC to succeed. So it is imperative for all the stakeholders in our country. It is imperative for all the institutions in the country to keep the situation, have it further improved in future, so that CPEC projects succeed. And with the success of CPEC is the success of our country. Since we pin great hopes to this project, we pin hopes to CPEC for connectivity and prosperity of our country. So this is very important to know various imperatives of security imperatives of CPEC. And for discussion on the topic, we have with us Mr. Yasir Janjua, who is a security consultant and has worked in international organizations for a long time. And we'll discuss issues of CPEC security with him. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Talat. Thank you for inviting me.
Sir, first of all, we would like you to explain for the general understanding of our viewers, what is security and how we define security?
The traditional view of security in military terms is with a primary focus on prevention of threats to national security. So I'm focusing my definition of security today in relation to the subject. Otherwise, security is a vast subject. But in relation to CPEC, the traditional view is this. In international law, as simply as it can be put, protection of men from threats against men. This is an established definition in international law. Although there are diverse issues in security, which is economic security, environmental security, energy security, resource security, food security, and so forth. But primarily, in national security perspective, it's the protection of national interests. So that's what we call security, as you say so.
So when we talk of CPEC, as I explained in my intro, that when CPEC started in 2014, we had troubles in our country, terrorist incidences happening every now and then, and that created a kind of perception about our country that it's not very safe for investment. It's not safe for a project like CPEC. It's a mega project, and it's not safe for those people who bring in money. So when we talk of CPEC, so what do you think? What is security in context of CPEC?
Well, if you allow me to go a little back, pre-2001, which is the date when we all know 9/11 happened, the definition of security or the concept of security worldwide was a very different one. I can tell you from my own experience in 1998, I was in Washington, D.C., and I was seeing off somebody, and I could actually go right up to the plane door, a PIA plane parked there, and I could go up to the plane door legally to see off the people there. 9/11 changed a lot of things in America and globally as well. And we became part of the global war on terrorism. And we took a fair share of battering in terms of the security situation. And you might remember in 2007, Newsweek International posted a cover story saying, Pakistan, the most dangerous country in the world. However, again, in 2010, Newsweek Pakistan posted another story. By then, Newsweek Pakistan was already incorporated, and they gave a cover story, Pakistan, the most bravest nation in the world. So we've been braving this wave of terrorism out. However, thanks to our armed forces and law enforcement agencies, we've achieved a lot of mileage in these years. And today, I can comfortably say we are much safer. You can never say you're completely safe, because in the terms of risk management, risks never reduce to zero. There are always some risks that you have to manage and mitigate, and there are some risks you avoid. So it's a paradigm that will continue. The question is, are we better today than we were? Yes, we are. And when we talk further, we will talk about numbers that I tell you. So Pakistan is much better today. Again, going back a few years ago, almost a decade ago, I was sitting with some friends, expat friends who were visiting Pakistan. This was just one day before the Marriott bombing. And I was actually telling them, because one night before, they were walking in the streets of Islamabad. They went to the supermarket. And this was still after 9/11. So things were not all that bad. When you can say after 2009, this became a very, very speedy wave of terrorism. And Pakistan got engulfed into this. And then you know the events of the killing of Osama bin Laden. However, again, as I said, thanks to the law enforcement agencies and armed forces, we've achieved a lot of mileage since then. And today we are, and you can see the tangible results. Sri Lankan cricket team has visited a few weeks ago. That is a clear indication. Whereas in 2009, the same Sri Lankan team was attacked. There is a long story and there is history. Why was that attacked and who was behind that? We all know that. There was some external forces who were trying to destabilize Pakistan or create an impression, as you're saying, that Pakistan is not worth investing into. However, thanks to our Chinese friends, that they trusted us and they made sure that this CPEC project is not only visualized, conceptualized, but actually executed. And that's where we are right now.
So when we talk of security in the context of CPEC, so we are much comfortable than before.
Oh, yes. And it was not, it's a collective effort. If the government of Pakistan alone would want to give them the assurances, that was not possible. The reality on ground is there is a buy-in from the armed forces of Pakistan who are providing the guarantees to make sure that CPEC remains a very, very viable project. And you know, that's why the Pakistan Army or the armed forces have raised a division, which is now more than 16,000 people. And that is a dedicated division, special security division, whose responsibility is only protecting CPEC.
Right, we will talk about that special arrangements that we made for security. Just, when we talk of security situation from 2014 to 2019, so we actually create a hopeful, environment. It's an environment which or a perception which says that look, in 2014 we had a bad situation, but it has increasingly improved, and in 2019 we are much better than before. So what is your analysis? Is it right to say that we are now, from security point of view, it's a much better Pakistan than it was in 2014?
If you allow me, before I go into the numbers or the details of answering this question, I'd like to take you back a little bit so that this is understood well and proper. Whenever we talk of security, the basic thing to understand, and most people who claim to be security practitioners, unfortunately, pardon me if I'm trying to blame somebody, do not understand the real concept. The security, you always look at risks and threats. And many people do not differentiate or do not exactly know what is a risk and what is a threat. So that is the underlying thing. And the whole issue of protection or making sure, if you don't know your risks and threats, you can't really mitigate them. So that's why the understanding for that is very important. And I mean, if I can very simply put, so that the conversation will revolve around risks and threats, and that's why we are trying to talk about. I mean, the action that has or that indicates the potential to harm, that is called threat. Whereas the risk is potential or the magnitude of that harm. So these are the two definitions which revolved around how we manage our security paradigm. Now, coming over, and then I'll not go into more details because this is not an academic discussion, but I have some data with me. You talked about 2014 to 2019. I'll just give you quickly the stats. We have the numbers now for 2018. Obviously, 19 is still not close, so the numbers are not final yet. In 2018, nationalists, the attacks by nationalists, which can be the Baloch nationalists and others, were 80 attacks, 96 people got killed, and 216 injured. Militants, the attacks were 171 and 449 people got killed. Sectarian were only 11 attacks and 50 people got killed. Now, when we compare this data to the previous years, I'll start from 2014 if you like. In 2014, the reduction in attacks was 9% from the previous year, which was from 2013. There was a 9% reduction in attacks and 30% reduction in the number of people killed. Come 2015, the reduction from 2014 was 48%. Oh, sorry, 48%. 48% reduction in attacks from 2014 and 38% reduction in number of people killed. In 16, the reduction was 28% from 15. Similarly, in 17, it was a 16% reduction in attacks. 2018 was a 29% reduction from 2017. Similarly, when we talk about the people killed, as I told you, 30% less killed in 2014 than 13. 38% less killed in 2015. 2016 was 12% less than the previous year. 17 was 10% less than the previous year. And 2018 is 27% less than the previous year. So when we come at 2018, we see 29% attacks was less and 27% less killed, which is very heartening. Although we mourn the loss, we are sorry for the loss of the people who lost their lives, like I told you, about 500 some people. But this is a lot less than a decade ago, where the number went into thousands. So in terms of CPEC, or for people who are having their focus on CPEC, this is a heartening news for Pakistan and the rest of the world, that we are much safer than we were in 2014.
Okay, I'm being asked to take a short break here.
Sure.
We'll be back after a short break. Welcome back. We were discussing about security of CPEC, and we have with us a very eminent security consultant, Mr. Yasir Janjua. Sir, I would just like to know for the viewers that do we need special security arrangements for CPEC?
Oh yes, you more than I do. You're a doctor, specialist in the subject. Pakistan is located at a place, is the most geographically sensitive and prominent place probably in the world. We have China on one side, India on the other, we have Afghanistan, we have Iran, and then we are sitting at the mouth of the Persian Gulf, where it leads to the Middle East and the Gulf states. There are countries in the region who have a lot of interest, positive or negative, towards this. Some of them do not want this to be developed, and there are more than one countries. I do not want to go into the details because that's a question of diplomacy, but they would want to make sure this doesn't fly. One of the countries would probably not want it because Pakistan will be economically better off. Other countries would not want it to be successful because their success will be impeded, because if CPEC is becoming successful, Gwadar would become successful. So it was imperative and in national interest, the government of Pakistan, successive governments, regardless of which government was there, and the Pakistan Armed Forces, they agreed that this is paramount to our success. So that's why special security arrangements were made, because this ensures national security. This will improve our national economy. So it's our national goal. So there is no doubt about it that the armed forces had to give in a buy-in for ensuring the security of CPEC.
Okay. Now, various writers and commentators also comment that it is one of the biggest impediment to success of CPEC. Do you agree with this?
Security, you mean?
Security.
No. This is the biggest. I mean,
One of the
leave CPEC to a side. I have been a security consultant and a business continuity consultant for a very long time. And the first thing, the CEOs, the heads of the government or the organizations, they think that any money you spend on security is actually a waste and non-productive investment. What they don't realize is any investment on security ensures business continuity. I'll explain to you why. God forbid there's a blast here in this studio or around this studio. So what will happen? Your operations here will be disrupted. So the revenues or whatever the income stream that has to be generated or is generated from the studio will be disrupted for the number of days that you can't operate, or number of weeks or months you can't operate. So if you think, I don't want to spend on security measures and I'm good to go, and you will save a lot of money perceiving or thinking that I am okay because there's no threat, there's nothing like that. However, if there was something to happen, you will not be able to operate. Similarly, if we don't secure CPEC routes and secure everything around CPEC, the whole entire economy is hinging on CPEC right now. There are $65 billion already pumped into the economy. So if that stops, our economy is going to be seriously disadvantaged. So somebody who thinks any investment on security for CPEC is a waste is a complete wrong notion. It's very important and paramount for our security, national security.
Okay, just supplementary to what I asked you already. What specific threats you think are there for the CPEC? Security threats, or not threats, maybe challenges?
See, the challenges for CPEC are no different than the challenges we as a nation face. Okay? There are some internal factors, some are external factors. For example, Talibanization, religious extremism. Then we have Pashtun Afghans. Then in external factors, we have India. We have our friends from GCC. These are our challenges, internal and external challenges, that dictate us to take certain measures so that we make sure we are protected, the investment that the Chinese make is protected, and it is completely safe from any hurdles or roadblocks. So if you want, we can go in, but this is a complete subject in itself.
Okay. We need to have a short break here.
Sure.
We'll be back after a short break. Welcome back. Sir, we were discussing about the factors, and in the factors we have internal factors as well as external factors. So what do you think you can dwell on? What are the internal factors that actually impact CPEC?
Two major internal factors that we talked about, Talibanization and religious extremism. These are the most serious challenges to us as a nation and to CPEC as well. Why? Because any failure on our part is going to reflect badly on the nation and impede the success of CPEC. Talibanization. You've seen madrasa.
Talibanization means extremism.
Extremism. I mean, religious extremism and Talibanization are quite interlinked, but there are some other factors as well. But they can be read together. Now, the way to address this, and the government of Pakistan and the armed forces are already working on it. They've achieved some success on that as well. There is requirement for mainstreaming of communities. You've seen FATA being mainstreamed into the national's affair. So this is how Now there's a national curriculum from madrasas that is coming up, because a lot of homegrown Taliban, or which we call the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, were actually coming out from the madrasas in Pakistan. So that is a factor that those are internal challenges that we are trying to address as a nation. Similarly, these are the factors which we have control over or we can work on. The external factors, we do not have much control because they are in the hands of another country. For example, India. As you know, India would want to undermine any day the CPEC, because one of the claims they make is because they claim, well, inverted commas, they claim the CPEC route is passing through Indian territory, which is Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in their words, which is Azad Jammu and Kashmir or the northern areas, which is completely wrong. And also, they want to undermine this because they know if Pakistan is going to be economically strong, Pakistan will pose an even potent threat to them. That's why they want to undermine this. Similarly, our friends in the GCC, we all know Gwadar is a deep sea port at the mouth of Strait of Hormuz and the shortest possible route from Central Asia and China into the Persian Gulf and onwards into the Middle East and to Europe. So, if Gwadar becomes successful or viable, then what happens about Jabal Ali and other ports in the region? So, those people would not have an interest in Gwadar becoming successful. So, these are the challenges that we are trying to work. And our government and our armed forces have taken certain measures, like, for example, Gwadar now, Pakistan Navy has reinforced its maritime security capability specifically for Gwadar. Previously, they used to be at other stations.
Okay, that was my next question, as a matter of fact.
Sure.
When we know there are internal factors, there are internal elements that are trying to destabilize the mega project, and we understand there's a regional politics and global politics, of course, which is in fact undermining this this project and ultimately China-Pakistan relations also. So how to, with regards to specifically speaking about CPEC, how to strategize this security? How to, what strategies we can have to address the issue?
Okay, this is very, very important for us as a nation, that our goals and objectives should be set straight. Our strategies should be straight. Some work has been done in the past, but I think in the last few years, there's been a great deal of understanding that this is where we need to address this. And one of the most important thing is mainstreaming of communities. The strategy for us, for handling the internal challenges is the mainstreaming of Baloch nationalists, development of Balochistan, the importance of development of the western corridor of CPEC, and passing on the benefits to the Baloch people, like creating industrial zones and creating jobs in Balochistan, will take these nationalists or so-called Ferraris who are sitting in the mountains, bring them back into the national fold. Similarly, we have done great amount of work in FATA, where we have mainstreamed FATA into the national focus. So these are the kind of things which are our strategies, where we have started working on them. We have worked some of them successfully, like for FATA. Baloch work is still something that we have not yet achieved the mileage which we would have wanted. But I think there is now an understanding that we need to focus on Balochistan vis-a-vis CPEC.
Okay. The last question that I really ask my panelists is, what is the future, in your opinion, what is the future of CPEC?
It's a no-brainer that CPEC is a game changer. For a country like Pakistan, if you look at the global perspective as well, in the countries of the world where the development kicked off, it all started with logistics and infrastructure. Pakistan, unfortunately, did not have the means to connect from Khunjarab to Gwadar. With the Belt Road Initiative of China and our strategic location, we became the epicenter of the whole thing. And I see this as the potential for Pakistan to go to the next level. Just to give you an example, our railway network, which runs from Karachi to Khyber, is more than a century old. Now with the CPEC, we are talking about improving our railway capability. The motorway will take you to Khunjerab, which took days to reach there. Right from Islamabad to Khunjerab, you can reach in a matter of few hours now. It's all because of the road. The logistics will improve. Our exports will increase. Yes, there will be imports passing in transit, and we'll gain benefit. So there is a very, very bright future for us vis-a-vis the CPEC.
Okay. Thank you very much, Yasir Janjua Sahab. You came to our show.
Thank you.
And you discussed very important issue that we confront today. Viewers, this is very important to know. And we had a very eminent security consultant with us to discuss various aspects of security of CPEC. This is all for today. Until next week, Allah Hafiz.